Hello fellow book lovers and welcome to today's video. Today is part 2 of every single book that I read in 2023 fantasy edition. So if you have not seen part 1 of this video, go ahead and go watch that. I will link it down below. I'll put it here on the screen. It is my thriller edition. So like I said in that one, this will not include any digital fantasy reads that I read because that's going to be a whole separate video in itself. So we're just going to talk about the physical fantasy books that I read. I actually thought I read way more fantasy this year than I actually did. I really apologize for the lighting in this video. I really wanted to film it so I can get it up for you guys. It is not the best. I'm very sorry about that. But anyways, like I was saying, I haven't read as much fantasy as I thought I did this year. When I look at the fantasy books that I did read, they're a lot like thicker of books. So like it kind of makes sense because they're way longer than a normal book would be. So it would take me a little bit longer to read them. Hence me thinking that I read way more fantasy than I did. You know? Every single fantasy that I read this year is actually part of a series, except for one, and that is the one I will talk about first, just because it's not a part of the series and I can talk about the whole series as a whole. So the first fantasy book I'm going to talk about is A Tale as Old as Time, and this is by Liz Broadwell, and this is from the Twisted Tales series. This is the only one that I read. I ended up only giving this one a 3 stars. I didn't really like it that much. I kind of like, I don't know what it was about it. The premise of the story was like the retelling of Beauty and the Beast, but I don't know, there was just something about it that I just didn't like. I felt like it was not too much close to the original, where it wasn't like a retelling because I already knew what was gonna happen, but it just wasn't like, it just didn't hit right for me. I don't know. If you're not someone who's into fantasy, this may be something to give a try because it might be a nice like introduction to fantasy, but I don't know. I don't necessarily recommend it. I feel like I want to give another book in this series a shot to see if I actually like this series, because I'm not sure yet, because this is the only one that I've read from there, and I do want to read another fairy tale retelling, and that is the Entangled with Fae series. So I feel like maybe this series was just not for me, but I don't know yet. I'm good. Like I said, I want to read another one from this series. That was a really long explanation to this book. Like I said, Beauty and the Beast retelling. This one is If Belle's Mother Had Cursed the Beast. It's kind of the explanation in itself. Like I said, didn't hate it, didn't love it. And this is actually the first fantasy series I ever read that I'm about to talk about, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Like, I'm so obsessed with this series. I still think about this series, and I think I read this back in February or January of 2023, which is crazy that I still think about it, and that is the Cruel Prince trilogy. So I actually do have all 3 books. I will talk about them all kind of individually just a little bit, but as a series, I absolutely love them. This is a 5-star series for me. This, I feel like, is a very true enemies to lovers fantasy series. It also deals a lot more with like politics than anything, which I know like for some people don't really like politics within the fantasy world, or like that's like the hardest thing to understand, but it's so like heavily like entangled within the story that it like kind of is easy to understand, if that makes sense. Like it's not hard to grasp and it makes sense. But basically in this one, this is more of like whimsical fairy tale, but basically Jude was taken away to this fae world by a guy who came in and literally murdered her parents, and basically while she's there, she's immersed into the fae world, so she literally has to go along, like not acting as if she's a fae, but literally going along with their world and their rules and everything that is involved. So like going to school, living by their lifestyle, their standards and everything like that, where she meets literally the cruel prince Cardan, who is in school with her, and literally like they hate each other to a T. Like it is literally immaculate the way that she has like described this relationship and the storylines within this. I don't know how else to like explain it really well, but like I absolutely fell in love with this book. It was so freaking good. Like I literally remember like starting reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, like what the heck? Like what is, oh my gosh. Like it was so good. I absolutely fell in love with the characters and the story. I just like, it was just so good. Yeah, so the Cruel Prince is the first one, and then into the next 2, which is the Wicked King and the Queen of Nothing, and these both follow along Jude and Cardan's story. But this is literally a true enemies to lovers fantasy series, because in this first one they're literally enemies. This one you think they're lovers, but they're not. And then in this one you get the real the real deed with it, you know? And this is a young adult fantasy series, so there is no like spice or anything like that within these books. It's all just implied stuff. Honestly, I fell in love. It was so amazing. And this is all told from Jude's perspective, and Jude is so fucking fierce and like such like like a badass, I want to say, because like she just like, as a human in this fae world where people have like powers and like immortal lives, like she's literally keeping up with these people and like showing them up as a human. Like literally she's just like, bro, you got nothing on me. And literally it's just so freaking cool. So yeah, I absolutely love this series. I cannot recommend it enough. And I was hooked from the very beginning. So I highly recommend that you read this series. And then along with that series, there is a little novella that is called How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. And this is all from Carden's point of view. I absolutely love all of the drawings and the details on this book. And inside the book, it is so pretty. Like the details and the intricacy, so cool. Oh my gosh, like it's just so beautiful. Like, come on. Isn't that so beautiful? Anyways, but this is just like a little novella. This is like short stories, like I said, all from Carden's point of view. And these are like a mix of like, I would definitely recommend reading this afterwards because it's a mix of things that have happened in the series and things that have happened before the series. So it does like give you a little bit more insight to Carden and who he is throughout the series, and like gives you a little bit more understanding of like why he is the way he is, obviously. But it also gives some context into other things from the book and even afterwards. So it kind of gives you a little wrap up of things even after, which is nice. But yeah, I highly recommend this one as well. I ended up giving this one itself a 4 stars, but in general, it's a whole 5-star series. Absolutely love. Can't recommend enough. And then the next series that I read was A Court of Thorn and Roses. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did film a video for this series and I still have yet to edit it and or post it, and I have been working on it since July. But I literally am just so busy with school and like other videos that like I can get edited and up faster that like I just have put it back on the back burner. But I promise you it is a video that will be coming. You'll get to see my full reactions and everything like that for this series. It'll be soon, I promise. So I read A Court of Thorn and Roses. I absolutely loved this series. It was so good. Overall, again, it's a 5-star series. Every single book though, I did give a different rating, but overall, I think the series as a whole is a 5 stars. Like just the overarching plot lines and storylines of every character and all of the character development and like the intricacy of the relationships and the found family is just so good, and I really enjoyed reading about it. And I think that this series is a great introduction to the Sarah J Maas universe, because all of her other ones like Throne of Glass and then Crescent City, well, Throne of Glass is literally 8-book series, so I feel like that's a lot for someone who like maybe doesn't know if they like her stuff to start. Because if you're like me, I'm kind of someone who like wants to finish out a series if I'm gonna start it. So even if I don't like it, I feel like I would be forced to finish it, even though I know that's not true. But like either way, you know what I mean. If you get it, you get it. This was perfect. Plus everybody raved about it. Everybody talked about it. Everybody raved about it. I had to read it. I ended up only giving the first one a 3 stars because honestly, like it was slow going, and the big majority of the stuff that you hear about with this book doesn't happen until like almost the last quarter of it to put you into the next one. So like that was a little bit of a downer, but you'll kind of see all of that within my video. But anyways, this starts out as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, basically. As if you haven't heard enough about this series, that's one thing you should know, is that this first one is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. She gets taken away to this fae world because 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods. So as punishment, she gets taken back to the fae world to live out a life sentence there. And the fairies, they're not technically fairies, they're fae. They're high fae. They don't like humans. So that's kind of a big deal for her. She's like, I'm a human and I'm going to this fae world where they do not like humans. And then in the next ones that we have Court of Mist and Fury, which this one is definitely my favorite within the series. I think this is everybody's favorite. This is the second book in the series, obviously. And this one is building up the relationship that you come to love. So all the characters in the book, like Rhysand, chef's kiss, love him. Beautiful boy. So this one is like really like building into that relationship, having to deal with the aftermath of everything that happened within the first book, like at the very end. So I don't want to give anything away. I'm not doing a great job of explaining this. I'm so sorry. I should have thought this through better. But anyways, yes. So everything that happens from the first one, learning to cope and deal with everything that's going on in the second one with everything that's happened in the first. Does that make sense? Yes. And relationships develop, found family is here, and like you meet a lot of new characters in this book, and honestly I love them. I love the relationship that she's built with all the characters that you meet in this book, and it's amazing. Next up we have A Court of Wings and Ruin, and this one is definitely heavily politics, war based. I did really enjoy it. It was a very different perspective than the second one. Like this one does not have, it does have romance in it, but I feel like it's not as heavy on the romance as it is in other ones because of all of the material and everything that's going on within this book. It's just like so heavily based on the politics and the war of the world that is happening. So yeah, like it's a whole lot of stuff going on. Okay, I'm really trying to explain it without like giving so much away. So that's what happens in this one. Oh, and all of these books follow Feyre. And then next up we have the little novella of A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is just a fun little novella that takes place after A Court of Wings and Ruin, and this is just like a little happy one that gives you a little bit more insight, a little bit more relaxedness to the characters, if that makes sense. So like they're very much in a like chill state, like no high stakes, nothing is going on in this book. It's just to see them all like together and happy and like having a great time. So it's just a small little novella that's going on here. And then this is the one that actually ends Feyre's story with it, technically. Introduces you more to Nesta's story. It's not heavily introduced, but I think it's like kind of like the indicator and the leader into A Court of Silver Flames, which is the next book in the ACOTAR series and the last one that we have right now. I know Sarah J Maas is working on the next ACOTAR book. Starting in A Court of Silver Flames, we follow Nesta, and it's all Nesta's point of view. We'll actually get multiple point of views because it's told in the third person, but you get Nesta and Cassian's thoughts, point of views, perspectives, things like that. But I absolutely loved this book way more than I thought I was going to, and I had debated on reading it right now or like waiting because I know most people don't read it right after the other ones. I love the story way more than I thought I was going to. I was really debating on if I wanted to read it right away because I knew it followed Nesta, and like you don't know much about Nesta other than what's told to you from Feyre's point of view in the books, and it's not very good things. Like most people do not like Nesta, they kind of hate her, she's kind of the worst, but she is in a sense because like you do get kind of some of her perspective in Feyre's point of view in the other books, and personally like I kind of saw that and it didn't make me hate her as much. Like yeah, I hated kind of the stuff that she did, but it wasn't like I hated Nesta, you know? But in this book you get obviously a whole lot of Nesta because this is all of Nesta's book, and I don't know if she's continuing with Nesta's point of view or not. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if she's gonna move on to someone else's point of view. I don't know. I absolutely loved the character development within this book. It was so good. It was so freaking good. Okay, let me tell you, like where you start with Nesta is nowhere near where you thought you would probably have ended. Like I thought I was gonna get through this whole book and still have more of like questions about who Nesta is and like what is going on with her and like this whole thing. But no, you get this beautiful character development throughout this entire book and this relationship that she mends, and it is crazy. It is actually crazy, and that's why I'm like I don't know if she's gonna continue with Nesta's story because it almost seemed like at the end of this Nesta's story was kind of concluded. I don't know how I feel about that because Feyre got 3-4 books. Nesta gets 1. I don't know. So that's why I'm like skeptical because everything feels to be wrapped up with Nesta. Well, not wrapped up, but wrapped up in a sense of like her story. But yeah. So like I said, I don't know where we're going, but I did absolutely love this. This one, I didn't give it 5 stars, but I do want to say I gave it like a really high rating. I want to say I gave it like a 4.5 stars because I really did enjoy this entire book and the series as a whole. It's a 5 stars. Alrighty, I've been talking for a long time. The final series that I'm going to talk about, because this is like my new favorite fantasy series, and I don't know if I'm going to have another one, honestly. Like this is going to be my top fantasy series, and it's not even a finished series yet, so I guess we'll see. And that is the Imperium series, which is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Chef's kiss all around for these books. Fourth Wing, 5 stars, 6 stars. I loved it. This is my This was so freaking good. Like, I was really surprised when I wasn't obsessed with ACOTAR like everyone else is. And then I read Fourth Wing and I said, oh, this is my Roman Empire, okay? Let me tell you, I'm obsessed. I am obsessed with this series and these characters. Like, I couldn't talk about Xaden enough. I cannot talk about Xaden enough. I love him. He is the end-all be-all, and I just love him. I have never been so obsessed with a fictional character before. If you haven't seen my Fourth Wing reading vlog, go watch that. I'll put it down below and I'll put it here on the screen because I'm not going to talk about it too much. I do have an Iron Flame video coming out very, very soon. Again, this is just another video that it's really long. It's a whole entire reading vlog of this book that is over 600 pages. I ended up giving this one a 5 stars and I ended up giving this one, I think, a 4 stars. I didn't love Iron Flame as much as I loved Fourth Wing. I just think, I don't know, there's just something about this book that's like crack. I don't know. It's like a drug. This book is like a drug, okay? Like, I have never, ever have wanted to do a reread of a book so quickly, okay? I love this series. I think it's gonna be a 5-star series. I mean, if you're a Fourth Wing girly, a Fourth Wing fan, you get it. But if you're not, then you're not, and that's fine. You don't get it as much as other people, and that's okay, because some people have different Roman empires and this one's just mine. This one, the first Fourth Wing book, like I said, please go watch my reading vlog if you haven't yet. It goes way more into detail. There is a non-spoiler and spoiler section. The spoiler section is at the very end of the video, but go watch it anyways because it's fun and you get to see all my live reactions to everything that I read. So, Fourth Wing, this one follows Violet Sorrengail in her first year at Basgiath College, which is basically a war college. Every rider has to compete to be able to get a dragon. Fun, right? A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. If that doesn't give you any context to what this book's about and the intensity of it and the high stakes, then I don't know what to tell you. But so freaking good. I absolutely loved it. The characters and the found family and the romance, I cannot tell you enough about how much I love this book. And the fact that the third one is just starting to be written actually makes me want to have an aneurysm because I want the next one now, obviously. And I don't think it's coming out until December 2024. So I've got literally a year to wait and I'm not happy about it. It's just a whirlwind of emotions, a whirlwind of everything going on, okay? Ugh, and my camera battery is flashing. Great. And then Iron Flame follows Violet's second year at Basgiath. Everything that you've learned in this first one, a whole bunch of information is spewed at you. So much more world building is happening in this one than you even would have expected. I was not expecting as much world building in this one as there was. Like, that's like the biggest like takeaway from this book is like there is so much world building, okay? But anyways, like I said, my camera battery is flashing. So I'm gonna wrap up this video because I've been filming for quite a while. That is every single fantasy series I read this year. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. If you've read any of these series, you've read any of these books, please let me know. I would love to hear your opinions, your thoughts, your feelings, everything about them because I just love hearing everybody else's thoughts and opinions on books that I've read because I want to see if we have the same viewpoint. And if we don't, I also love seeing that and I want to see your perspective. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. Please follow me on all of my social medias as well as subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.